not ready to go back yet. And, the motivation is when you put on the uniform, you play to win.
I adore and respect Dave Van Horn. I think most people probably know that by now. I have at times even said things like, I would like to drop my 2 boys off up there and come pick them up in a year, knowing that they would be better men for having spent a year with Coach Van Horn, and in part not with me for the year. However, the greatest lie the devil ever told, Matty T.
It was his biggest trick. Convincing the world that he doesn't exist.
Exactly. The biggest lie ever told by college baseball coaches is that they go to conference tournaments to win them. That is the greatest lie or trick ever pulled on society, because we all know they have no intentions or interest in winning. If the other team fails more miserably than you do in your limited effort to win, I do think Arkansas wants to win today. I think they probably want to win tomorrow. Beyond that, I can't imagine there's a whole lot of motivation for playing. We talk about it every year. Last year we talked to the hitting coach, who has now moved on to other pastures, Todd Butler, who is now the head coach at Wichita State. And he said, absolutely, we want to win the tournament. Bologna. Nobody believes that. But nevertheless, Arkansas does want to win today, we assume. If they win, they'll play at the same time tomorrow. Dave Van Horn, meanwhile, has a relationship with Rob Childress. And if I said Rob Childress to you, you'd say...
A&M.
Didn't know that. Okay, I didn't either. I looked it up today. I'm like, who is Rob Childress? All I know is he's got an outstanding mustache. He is the head coach at A&M. He and Dave Van Horn have history in a good way.
Well, I've known Rob since he's 21 years old, and we started coaching together. And, I feel like that, we're good friends. I have a lot of respect for him and what he's done over his career. I mean, I appreciate everything he did for me as an assistant coach. He was incredible, and went off and did his thing, got his jobs, and has been very successful, and is known nationally as one of the best coaches in the country, one of the best pitching coaches. And having him in the league, I mean, honestly, I don't have any fun coaching against my friends, to be honest with you. It's tough, but it is what it is. I'm proud of him for being in this league. This is a tough league, and I think he knew that when he got into it. But, and then as far as, coaching with him this summer with Team USA, I think it'll be a great time for us to, to just give it one more shot at coaching together, have some fun, really get a chance to talk about our families and our kids and where we started and where we are now. So I think it'll be a great experience.
Pat, you know as well as anybody, coaching against or playing against your friends is not necessarily nearly as much fun. However, the only thing that is worse than losing to someone you hate is losing to someone you really care about. That is the absolute worst. So I know he may not take a lot of joy from beating his friends, but it certainly is a heck of a lot better than losing to somebody you're close to. Because when you sit down for a beer, or if it's family like the Harbaughs had to do it in the Super Bowl and you got to spend Thanksgiving or Christmas or some other holiday gathering together, last thing you want to do is look across the table and go, you dirty dog, you got me again.
Well, it seems like he was, from just hearing him talk about it, he was sort of a mentor to coach as well.
Yeah, I think so.
So there's another fold, they're almost, if it's peers and friendships, which obviously now they are, but I guess if you start out in a mentor role, maybe have an even different view of it.
Right.
Either way, someone's going home.
That
no matter how good friends they are, I don't care.
Of that, there is no doubt.
They can sleep in the same bed, someone's still going home.
No question about it.
I don't think they have to do that anymore, though.
What you said. One other thing we were talking about, and then we'll go to Jim Harris, who joined us yesterday at Rebsman for the Buzz Golf Tournament. Big Ten Conference maintained its status as the nation's highest revenue college sports league in fiscal 2013, according to federal tax records. Let me bring Jim in here, and you can feel free to weigh in. Hi, Jim.
Hey.
The 12-school Big Ten reported $318.4 million in total revenue for a fiscal year that ended June 30th, just ahead of the $314.5 reported by the SEC. Commissioner Jim Delaney credited with nearly $1.8 million in total compensation for the 2012 calendar year. The return showed. Jim Delaney's making a lot of money. His base pay of nearly $1.255 million is just ahead of SEC Commissioner Mike Sly's $1.173, but behind Big 12 Commissioner Bob Bowlesby's. Bowlesby's base pay was reported at $970,000 for the first 6.5 months on the job. So he's going to make about $1.8 million according to this once he gets a full year's compensation. So the Big Ten has a narrow lead over the SEC. I think we can all agree that once the SEC network is up and running in the next few months, that will no longer be the case, and it probably won't be close. Jim, welcome. How are you, buddy?
Jim?
Good to see you yesterday.
good.
Hope you had a good time. It was a beautiful, spectacular, as
Yeah.
good as it gets day.
Yeah, that's as good as a golf day gets in May. Of course, looked great down there.
Yeah.
I want to encourage if we've got, some golf listeners to check out how good Rebsman looks. Of course, they punched the greens.
Yep.
This is the usual time for that. But I also want to encourage you to check out what's happened down in Hyndman Park since a year ago. It was closed last summer for most of the summer, I guess, but they put in the same grass that they have at Rebsman. And, of course, it's just coming together, so you're going to find greens a little bit slower. They're going to let it grow in before they start cutting it as tight as you're seeing it cut at Rebsman, because I thought the greens putted well and fast. There were some bumpy little spots with sand on it, but I thought speed-wise, you got to figure here the city championship is scheduled, and I think you can still enter that.
Pat, are we going to play in that this year finally?
There's no doubt about it.
Really?
Yes.
Are you going to play?
I don't know, unless I get rid of this nagging injury I
We
have.
talked about it
I
before.
might play.
We might just go
If you
play
guys
and.
played, I might play.
Well, look, if anybody's been sort of on the fence about it, if Pat and I play, you can guarantee you'll not finish last. So you got that going for you.
Well, they have 125 spots, and that's at Rebsman, of course. As I'm saying, I think, after a lot of play and the wind and everything that's going on here in these next few days, that those greens ought to be really nice, and everything ought to be going good. There's some spots, because of the weather we've had, there's some spots in the fairways that still lack, but and they're waiting to come in. But I'm excited for the public golfer here in Central Arkansas that there's some awfully nice public courses now. I really think that Hyndman deserved to have the greens that they've got to go with what I think is as good a public layout as there is around here. It's a really nice, put together course. Whoever put that route in together, used the hills and all that. Number 9 at Hyndman is probably one of the top 2 or 3 hardest holes anywhere around here.
Couldn't agree more. That's vastly underrated. I've said for years and years, if they could afford to put some money in and not necessarily do the whole overhaul like they did at Rebsman, but if you play that thing from the blues, God forbid if you play it for the tips, it is a brutal test of golf. There's no question. There's a couple tee boxes you're like, really? So it's a tough course. I've not played it in years, I'm embarrassed to say, but I'm looking forward to checking it out. And
You'll like it. You'll like it a lot.
Considering how often you can play or how long into the year you can play, it would be nice to have another course or two in the community, but you do have that. You have Rebsman. You've got, I'm not much on an executive course, but the times I played War Memorial have been fun, and you've got Stone Links and North Hills, and so anyway, there are some good options.
The first tee has a great
That's true.
9-hole
Great
course
point.
that fits anybody. I think their 9 holes on their chairman's side and from the tips, it's as tough as anything out there, and it's got traps. Hyndman won't present any sand traps to you. There's a lot of people going, thank you, thank you for no traps. The public golfer, I'm not sure traps are that necessarily a needed hazard, without slowing play down. So Hyndman doesn't have that, but it can still get you with its layout. Without having traps.
Right. No, I agree. It's a tough layout for sure. Anyway, it was a great day yesterday. I thank everybody who supported the tournament. Certainly thanks to Epic Health for being our title sponsor, and also Firestone Complete Auto Care for being a co-sponsor, and all the folks who helped all the way from our buddy Big E at Corky's. And we had a good time yesterday.
Fantastic.
It really was. So
Who's that guy out there that's kind of in charge
of
looking at?
Yeah, that's Big E.
Oh, he's great.
He's the best. Yeah. He's always out. Yeah, he's the guy. He's been running and gunning. I know he's hustling.
I was lucky he paired us with Matt Stell, who doubled up. 18 holes isn't enough for that guy.
Well, he's a young flat belly, Jim. You know they do.
We even I plugged in a little Spotify going. Our group listened to Matt's a few of his songs while we were playing. That kind kept us on a good roll there for a while. We had a lot of birdies.
That's funny because actually when he played with us, he said, could you put on some Culture Club? So we played that most of our round.
Maybe he didn't want to hear himself in the afternoon.
Nobody ever does. I don't know about you. Every time I hear my voice, it makes my stomach turn. Let's talk about.
How'd y'all play?
Okay, 63. Not as good as y'all did, but it was fun. It was windy in the afternoon.
20 under, which we didn't shoot. 1 in the morning. That's incredible.
Ask Pat what he shot at Mike Anderson's tournament yesterday, Jim.
What was this? I heard 43, or you said something
24
like that
under.
when I was listening.
46.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, and they lost.
We lost.
What
Got
course
carted
was
out.
that one?
Shadow Valley.
And, I mean, how do you do that?
Well,
How do you shoot?
we was a 5-man team who we each had a mulligan on each side and the string. You know this? Have you ever done that? Where
With
you
the
get
putting?
With the putting, you get like a, I don't know if it's 6 or 8 inch string, and if it's within if the ball is within the hole,
You can use your string to count it as a made putt.
Well, not only a made putt, but as that previous shot being made. So basically,
Yeah,
you can
but how do you
string
make that many eagles? I mean, to shoot 24
Because
under
there's a handful of
several
reachable par fours there.
It's a
Apparently,
great course. But yeah,
For
we had a couple
scrambles.
of guys. Yeah, for scrambles.
Where is
But even
Shadow
fun for a
Valley?
guy like
Where-
me.
It's up in Rogers, he said.
Yeah, Rogers, right past Pinnacle.
Okay, is this a new course? Is this a
About
Lindsay
10 years, I
course,
think.
or-
Maybe 2000, a little over 10 years old, I think, around
Okay.
there.
Is this a Lindsay course?
That I do not believe so, sir.
Okay.
there
Is
apartments
it
all
right
over?
by the highway?
Beautiful, beautiful houses. Matt
Okay.
Jones used to live
Is
in
it
that
right
development.
by the highway, right by now Interstate 49?
It is not really. I mean, it's close enough. Yeah, you can get there within 5 minutes, but
Okay, 'cause
certainly
I've
it's far
seen a
back.
course. I didn't know what it is. Kind of between Rogers and Lowell. I think it seems kind of new. Looks pretty over there.
Jim, let's
How
talk.
about the hog golf? I mean, we can really talk about how great they played the other day before we get into your main chest. They were incredible to finish second
Who?
to Oklahoma State. The Hogs.
Oh yeah.
Hogs men golf. They moved on to the national championships
Okay,
this
well.
week at Prairie Dunes.
Thank you for proving me
in
wrong.
Kansas.
All right.
What's that?
I said thanks for proving me wrong because yesterday Trey Schapp brought that up as we were teasing overtime, and I said, Trey, you're the only sports broadcaster that's even thinking about college golf, and he's like, that's not true. You know what? Turns out he was right. Jim, you're paying attention to it too. I guess I'm the rube.
Well, Sebastian Kaplan looked so fantastic last year, making the semifinals of the Western Amateur out at Lotion, and he's had a great year. And of course, the sophomore that was so good too here at Echeverria. He had a tremendous week last week, and now they're moving on to what I really consider my dream course. You know, I've seen it, I've been on it, I've never played it. It's in Hutchinson, Kansas, of all places, right in the middle of nothing but wide open spaces. Prairie Dunes Country Club. It's a fabulous Perry Maxwell design, and that's going to be a great place to stage the national championship. 30 teams there. The Golf Channel's going to be covering some of it here. It ought to be, Arkansas is going to be featured at different times. A few years ago, they did make the national championship final. They've gone to this combination of medal play, then you break down to the top 8 teams, and then those teams play matches the last 2 or 3 days, and you determine your national champion. And Arkansas made it to the championship game just a few years ago and lost by 1 match, I guess.
I vaguely remember. I guess I just don't pay any attention to college golf. I don't know. Maybe.
Oh, well.
I mean, look, if you put a Razorback on
I
it,
bet you
typically
would
we
if
pay
they won.
attention, but
Yeah.
I just don't really that
I
well.
bet you would start if they started winning some championships. The women did pretty well too, but
I think I
they're
would,
back
actually.
there competing.
I don't know that I would. But
Really?
maybe I should. I don't know. Anyway.
I think you should.
Okay,
Because,
I'm gonna-
when you're looking at football being in the dumps right now, basketball just a little bit above average, baseball a little bit above average. You're trying to find that Arkansas sports. You have the women winning the national or the SEC outdoors the other day.
That was good.
I mean, these are all important, victories for Jeff Long if he's going to continue to draw that salary that's better than Mike Slives as commissioner of the SEC.
Arkansas football, Jim, may be not quite up to par, but frankly, that's all people really care about at the end of the day, so we're going to talk about it. And the future opponents and schedules were released yesterday. And
I've been tweeting that out.
We, the 2018-2019 run, all I know is by then Arkansas better have a really good team because that could be your best chances to do something special in the SEC because you get Vanderbilt at home one year and at Kentucky the next.
Yeah, it shouldn't have surprised you or Pat or me or anybody else that you look at the 14-team breakdown of the rotational opponents, who got Kentucky and Vanderbilt last over these first 7 years and then the next 7 years, Arkansas. A lot of teams will get to play Kentucky or Vanderbilt before Arkansas gets to them. So, does that shock you at all?
It is funny to me that Kentucky, or LSU rather's permanent is Florida. That's not exactly a great draw for them, but they do have Kentucky a few times.
No, and Tennessee has been better in its history, and is Alabama's permanent.
That's true.
And then Auburn and Georgia are permanent, so you would think that's a pretty good matchup. I'll take Missouri as Arkansas's permanent opponent any day. I think Arkansas should really strive to take advantage of that and not end up being kind of a game where it just splits 50-50 every year. I think Arkansas should build a program that should be able to beat Missouri most every year, and that would be in Arkansas's favor for sure, as opposed to not getting Vanderbilt and Kentucky very soon on the schedule. You got at Tennessee next year. Florida's right back on the schedule again in 2 years. Of course, we know Georgia is coming to Little Rock here this year. So, you talk about your power over there in the East. That's the first three that I still really think of before I start thinking of South Carolina.
Should I assume that Florida game at Arkansas in 2017 will also be at War Memorial? Should we go ahead and just pencil that in?
Better have Kevin Kraft on to discuss that one. Maybe he can. I think he's pulled enough strings as he could to get Georgia next year, and I'm sure Jeff Long has a plan. But we just don't know it yet. But I do think there's a possibility. I don't think it's completely out of the realm of possibility that Missouri game in 2 years might be played here.
That would be okay. I'd be fine with that, and it makes it more inconvenient for Missouri fans. So I'm all good with that.
Well, heck, how inconvenient for them. They held both the SEC Golf Championship and the Arkansas Razorback baseball team last weekend, and I'm not sure their fan base turned out for either event. Arkansas had more fans up there for baseball, is what I was told, by more than a couple of people, than Missouri had. And I know they're not any good.
No.
They only won 6 conference games, but still, for Arkansas fans to make what I guess is about a 5-hour trip or so. I don't know what it is from Fayetteville, but I know that from here it's going to take a good solid 5 hours to get to Columbia.
I imagine most Razorback fans felt like they didn't need them to beat Missouri in baseball.
Well, we still turned out pretty well for Arkansas, and I think everybody is still keeping their fingers crossed that Arkansas can get a win here today and maybe continue on in the SEC tournament and have a nice showing to earn perhaps a regional before it's all said and done. I think it may be out of reach, but I don't think it's out of question.
You don't? Yeah. What do you think would have to happen for them to get a regional?
I think they'd have to make it all the way to the SEC final.
I don't think they're that interested in that, do you?
To make the SEC final?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think they want to use Beeks or any of those guys. And the guys who've been hurt, I think they want to give them some extra rest and still try to get this. Probably still try to get this win today. I think because it's a weird setup where it's a one and done for the first day, then it becomes double elimination for a few days. Then the final is one and done again.
Are you of the opinion that they need to win to get in, or do you think they're already in the NCAA's regardless?
I think they're in the NCAA tournament, but the most likely traveling. I think now it's a seed situation. But I think when you finish 7th in the SEC in the regular season, and you have a winning record in the league, which they do, and they have some really good wins. Yeah, that's got them in the tournament now. Now it's a matter of, can they really impress their way to at least a good seed if they're sitting out on the road somewhere like last year, and then, or get lucky with some upsets around the country at the 15th and 16th spots and host a region.
As everybody knows, Arkansas 2 of 3 versus A&M. Their only loss came in extra innings, a close one a couple of weeks ago at Fayetteville. So
yeah, but that's a good team. They did the same thing with LSU. They could have swept LSU. I think they ended up. I think they won that series. But that's a good team that could, on a given day here. I hate the one and done kind of thing because. And you know how baseball is for anybody. On any day, the Cubs can beat the Cardinals,
Yeah, they do it pretty regularly. They just can't beat anybody else. Jim, we appreciate the time. Thanks again for playing yesterday. We will catch up next week and hopefully talking about Arkansas.
Well, call me later about the city championship thing. If you guys really got out there, I'd like to maybe
be amused.
That too.
Yeah. Be amused by us.
No,
okay.
I don't know about that. I might like to play. I'm not ready to play a tournament, but I'd like to hang with you guys. And if not, we'll definitely see you next week.
Sounds good. Thanks, Jim.
Later, Jim.
See you.
Jim Harris with SportingLifeArkansas.com.
Segment brought to you by Landers Chevy. LandersChevy.com, the original LandersChevrolet.com. Exit 121 off of I-30.